Today we celebrate the Feast of Pentecost, and this Mass is being offered for the people of the parish. Do please take a bulletin for this week's schedule, and also for some announcements throughout the bulletin, various things. First of all, I would like to thank C.J. Hanley for his service here as our music director for the last 9 months or so. He came in to help us in the interim, and today will be his last day. So we thank him for all of his great work. Actually, over several years, he's always been available to us in a pinch, and he says he will still be available to us in a pinch. So we thank him for that, and then announce that Nikolai Bajanov who has been our organist for the last year and been singing with us for a couple years now. He will take over as the music director for the parish. So thank you to CJ, and wish you all the best, and thank you to Nikolai for stepping up to the challenge. Also, we welcome Coulter McIntyre, who will be joining us for the next 2 months as our summer seminarian, and he will be with us officially starting this Tuesday. And do please read the bulletin for the various announcements. The epistle The epistle is from the Acts of the Apostles. When the days of Pentecost were drawing to a close, they were all together in one place, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a violent wind coming, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them parted tongues as of fire, which settled upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak in foreign tongues, even as the Holy Spirit prompted them to speak. Now there were staying in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. And when this sound was heard, the multitude gathered and were bewildered in mind, because each heard them speaking in his own language. But they were all amazed and marveled, saying, "Behold, are not all these that are speaking Galileans? And how have we heard each his own language in which he was born? Parthians and Medes and Elamites and inhabitants of Mesopotamia, Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt and the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and visitors from Rome, Jews also and proselytes, Cretans and Arabians. We have heard them speaking in our own languages of the wonderful works of God." And a continuation of the Holy Gospel according to St. John. At that time Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone love me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our abode with him. He who does not love me does not keep my words, and the word that you have heard is not mine, but the Father's who sent me. These things I have spoken to you while yet dwelling with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things, and bring to your mind whatever I have said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Do not let your heart be troubled, or be afraid. You have heard me say to you, I go away, and I am coming to you. If you loved me, you would indeed rejoice that I am going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I am. And now I have told you before it comes to pass, that when it has come to pass, you may believe. I will no longer speak much to you, for the prince of the world is coming. and in me he has nothing. But he comes that the world may know that I love the Father, and that I do as the Father has commanded me. And thus far the words of the Holy Gospel. Please be seated. We have had much preparation for this feast of Pentecost. Many of us have been praying a novena, which really began even before the Ascension. Even before Ascension Thursday, we had the 3 Rogation days. We began by mourning the fact that our Lord had told us he was leaving, and we had a triduum of 3 days of mourning and penance and fasting to prepare for the Lord to depart from us, to ascend into heaven. And then we had the glorious feast of the Ascension of our Lord. And after Ascension Thursday, we began a novena, because our Lord had told us that he was going to send the Holy Spirit, and we needed to pray. So we've been praying for the last 9 days, and the word novena refers to the number 9. It refers to the 9 days of prayer that the apostles themselves prayed for the coming of the Holy Spirit. And so, throughout history, Christians have prayed this novena, these 9 days for the coming of the Holy Spirit. It's important that we prepare for these feasts. And in fact, yesterday, then, we had the Vigil of Pentecost, which, again, historically, is a fast day. It's a day of fasting, at least until noon, which doesn't really ask that much from you. And nevertheless, it is being mindful. Today is a day of preparation. So we prepare for the Feast of Pentecost. And even in this Mass, before we pray the Gospel, we have the sequence. We must wait a little bit longer until we get to the Gospel. And this is notable about the Roman Rite, as it is rightfully celebrated with Gregorian chant, whether in the new form or the old form. We have these long chants. These long chants in preparation for the Gospel. They're not quick, nor should they be. Because you think of all the ages of ages that prepared for the coming of the Gospel. And so it's a reminder for us each Sunday, and especially during the Sundays of Lent, and on these Sundays where we have a sequence, that we need to prepare a little bit longer for the coming of the Gospel, as a reminder that we are so privileged. We have so much today. We have been given so much, and we take it for granted. We really take it for granted. And don't we all know that, especially now, as we've been deprived from all that which we took for granted. It has been restored to us, at least somewhat, but not fully. But God has a plan in all of this, and we need to be listening. We need to be listening in the silence as Elijah listened, not in the storm, not in the thunder, not in the noise of the world. We need to be listening in the silence. And so it is with those who are waiting for the coming of the Holy Spirit in the upper room. Now, we are told here in the Gospel, we're told here in the Acts of the Apostles, that suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a violent wind coming, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. And then the parted tongues of fire settled upon them, and they began to speak. Now let us consider all the noise that is in the world today, and especially the spirit of rage which is washing over our land, over our city, and over the major cities of the United States. It is said that those who have come to destroy our city, breaking windows, destroying property, beating up people on the streets of downtown Portland. It is said that they've been paid and sent here from out of state to stir up trouble. And it is said that in other cities, where there were also the same quarantines or curfews last night around the nation, a coordinated effort to attack the cities of the United States from within. This is not the type of violent wind that we're speaking about in the Acts of the Apostles. There is a spirit of peace, spirit of serenity that comes with the Holy Spirit. But a spirit of rage is never from God, and rage is not righteous anger. Now, anger is an emotion that is informed by our intellect. We perceive there is an injustice, and we respond with appropriate anger. Anger is an emotion that is informed by our intellect, and then by an act of the will, we as adults are able to make a decision of how we will respond to this emotion we feel based upon the information that has been processed by our intellect. By our will, we decide what we're going to do and how we're going to act upon this anger or not to act upon it. To not act upon it is the fruit of meekness. Meekness is acknowledging the injustice or an attack upon oneself and not responding in kind, but accepting it and saying, I deserve all this and more for my sins. Of all that I've gotten away with in my life, perhaps I'm innocent for this particular thing, but I've not been innocent in the past. And so I accept this injustice to me today, and I offer it up and I unite it to our Lord on the cross. Now, there are times when we need to protect the innocent. And there are times when we just have to accept the way that things are. But what happens with the passions? There's the passion of anger, which is different from the emotion of anger. A passion overtakes the use of reason. Our reason is somehow blocked or put on hold, and passion erupts. So the passion of rage is no longer about our reason informing our emotion, being governed by our will. Rage goes beyond all that, and we become as animals. Now there's really not an excuse for this, other than that we're not keeping vigil, we're not keeping custody of our humanity. Our humanity. Now, children will do this. Children, especially at the age of 2 and 3, and even up into adolescence, unfortunately, will do this. They will act according to their passions. They will ignore their intellect. They won't exercise their will, and they'll just behave in an irrational, emotional way. Unfortunately, some adults do this also. And perhaps as our entire world has been treated like caged animals for the last 3 months, it's understandable that caged animals would lash out and act like animals, demanding to be let out of their cages, whether they're paid for it or not. But it is not the government's role. It is not the government's role to govern people or to control people on such a minute level. It is the role of mothers and fathers, of families, Families need to control their children. Families need to control their adult children. Fathers of families need to discipline their children in cooperation and union with their wives. But when the family is broken up, or when the government legalizes divorce, and when the government legalizes abortion, and when the government legalizes pornography, and when the entertainment media and the news media are pushing a culture that they have formed in their own image that is not our culture, what do we expect? What do we expect? When families are broken up and the government says, we'll be your family, we will provide for you, we will make your decisions for you, we will tell you what to do and what not to do. And your parents are out of the picture because we've stepped in to be your parents. But the problem is the government doesn't love you, and elected officials come and go, and frankly, they're not interested in you. They're interested in their career. They're interested in getting reelected. They're interested in what they are interested in. They have no regard for you. They don't love you. If you depend on the government to give you your rights or to define what your rights are, well, then the government can define that you don't have rights. And that is why there is rage on the streets of Portland and Seattle and Los Angeles and Denver, etc., etc. Now, what is the answer to all this? Well, it's not going to be a quick or easy answer. And we cannot change the course of events individually. But what we do need to be doing is preserving hope. Because when the enemy, meaning the devil, when the enemy is raging, which he is right now, and that rage is catching fire and washing over our land, when the enemy is raging, it's a sign that he has something that he is raging against, which is good. And when things start to heat up, we should have a greater sense of hope that something very good is coming. Something very good is on the horizon. And it might be next week, or it might be 50 years from now. But we should have a great sense of hope. And so we do need to be praying. And if you have been negligent in praying the Pentecost novena, well then start a different novena. This coming week, this is the octave of Pentecost, and you have another opportunity for penance and fasting. We have 3 Ember Days this week, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. 3 Ember Days, on which we consecrate the season of summer to the Lord. There are 12 Ember Days throughout the year, in which to consecrate each of the 12 months of the year to the Lord. There are 3 in June, which are in the octave of Pentecost, to consecrate the summer to the Lord. Likewise, 3 in the fall, 3 in the winter, and 3 in the spring. So these are days to fast. 1 day a month to fast, except we consecrate them 4 times a year. Is it so much to ask that we would fast to sanctify each month of the year? Wednesday and Saturday are partial abstinence days. You can have meat at your main meal and have a good main meal. And then fast the other 2, have 2 little small meals for the other meals. Friday is a full abstinence day, as every Friday through the year should be. It's not much to ask. Perhaps the disciplines have been relaxed quite a bit. Maybe many Catholics have no discipline whatsoever. But look at the world today. It's no wonder. With rampant divorce and abortion, the use of birth control, a hatred of women, or rather a hatred of femininity, hatred of motherhood, hatred of families, hatred of purity, hatred of virginity, hatred of right-ordered sexuality, a hatred of seemingly everything that is good and holy. We who are seeking to be good and holy need to be taking things a little more seriously these days. It's not much to ask. I would urge you to think about your spiritual life, and if you've been negligent, be negligent no more. We have much to pray for, and much to hope for, and much to prepare for, and we need to be vigilant that the spirit of rage does not get to us. The spirit of rage. Maybe you've seen yourself being a little irritated lately. All right, here's what you need to do. I'm feeling angry right now, but I know that there's a spirit of rage roaring across our land. So, I'm just going to feel this way. Just going to feel this anger, but I'm not going to do anything about it. In fact, this feeling of anger is so unpleasant that I'm going to consider it a matter of suffering. I'm suffering due to this feeling of anger. And if I'm suffering, well then I can unite my suffering to Christ on the cross and offer this feeling of anger to Christ on the cross and suffer this temptation that I'm not going to act upon. And that's what we must do. We must be vigilant against anger. Be vigilant. Do not act upon it. Do not give in to the spirit of rage, but rather cultivate the spirit of peace and the fruits of peace and patience and goodness and kindness and meekness, long-suffering, continence, chastity, modesty, and any other fruits that I've forgotten. And come, Holy Spirit, because we really need you in the world right now. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.